Don, would you mind reading this?
It'd be my pleasure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Sorry, I have to stop.
Do we have a motion regarding the non-public?
I would make a motion to seal the minutes from the non-public session, as it would possibly adversely affect the reputation of
Recording stopped.
Sorry.
a
Sorry.
person other than a member of this board.
I'll second.
Moved by Rob Glassett, seconded by Scott Sanchigan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. How about the non-public and public meeting minutes from November 2nd? Do we have a motion to accept those?
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Rob, seconded by Scott. This is gonna be a pattern. All those in favor?
Aye.
And consent agenda.
Make a motion to. What do I?
It was short. It was really short.
You got it?
Oh, I got an easy one?
It's on the screen. Oh,
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Number 1, accounts payable manifest dated 11/2/23. Number 2, accounts payable manifest dated 11/9/23. Number 3, accounts payable manifest dated 11/16/23. Number 4, payroll manifest dated 11/9/23. Number 5, approval of notice agreement and release of liability and municipal liability and responsibility for installation of secondary access off Coach Road for the property located at 712 Hemlock Brook Road.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Rob, seconded by Scott. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, you lucked out.
I really looked out.
All
I have
right.
a game face on for me too.
Capital improvements.
Yeah, which is what brings me here.
Very exciting.
it might be easier for you to look at that in your
Yeah.
on your computer.
Yeah.
There's the narrative under number 3, and then there are 2 different size reports. One's 8.5 by 11, one's 11 by 17. They did 11 by 17, but this looks awful.
Which one do you recommend we use?
Probably the 8.5 by 14 on your computers, and you can make it bigger. Do you need a copy, Don?
Nah,
Okay.
I pretty much know what's where, even though I brought my wrong folder.
Let me
And, well, I apologize for being late, but I also would like to compliment the select board on continuing the tradition that we started a few years ago of getting the budget done early. Nice job, from what I see in here. Mission accomplished there.
Yeah.
So the CIP report this year, the largest thing that we did was, with all the department heads, we updated the future costs of capital equipment because of, obviously, the hyperinflation that we've been seeing over the last couple of years. So that was the largest task that we took. And what you see is, in the bottom line, you'll see that it does take a rather large jump from last year to this year on the tax rate. It went from, I forget what it was from, but I know it goes to about 216 down
Down further?
bottom of the second page.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, it jumped 17 cents, which the goal of the CIP is to keep that flat. However, that one-time adjustment of doing all the increases for inflation did make it jump there. If you look across, it does stay very level for the next 8 years at least at the 216, 217 level.
Where am I apologize.
Very bottom of
The second, yeah, the very last,
Sure.
That's right. So
the bottom line.
Yeah,
talks about
yeah.
that. Yeah.
And all those are based on the current valuation of the town. So typically, the overall valuation of the town goes up. So those numbers would actually decrease when you do the math.
Which we would do that in 2025. Yep.
Yeah. The overall plan has the typical things, there's paving in there, there's deposits into the capital reserve funds. Where those numbers came from is, and I can share this with you, and I haven't sent you the file yet, like I'm supposed to. We've done essentially a cash flow analysis for each of the departments so that we're saving the required amount so that when the large purchases come due, there's enough money in the capital reserve. There's a couple of times, I think the ladder truck or something like that will bring the balance down to a few $1,000s, but never to zero.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where those numbers of our recommended deposits into the capital reserves comes from. There's two new things on the CIP that the department heads presented, and we worked into the plan and agreed that they should be done. One is for the police radar equipment replacement. That has I think a 70 or 75% offsetting grant, which was rather good. And that we have that in for the next couple of years. The other thing, yeah, you'll see that for the next 3 years. It's a larger amount this year and then less the next 2 years. The only other thing is the highway department had come, and it's been on the radar for a four-wheel, a rubber-tired excavator. The reason it came up this year is twofold. One is Mark's seeing a lot of heavy use on the backhoe, and the expected life of the backhoe is he's thinking it's being shortened because it's used harder than expected. So this piece of equipment would take the place of some of the work that has to do. The other thing that brought it into the radar this year, sorry, the pun for the previous item, the flooding that we had. For that type of work, the backhoe is what he uses, but it's not the most ideal piece of equipment. A rubber-tired excavator with a rotating head can get contours a lot easier in your ditches and digging culverts and things like that. So we talked with them, and Mark did go out and looked into what a lease purchase would typically be. So that's what you'll see here. Since we didn't have the money to save for it ahead of time, you do it the opposite, which was the old way. You buy it and pay interest on it. So you'll see that about $30,000 a year. And I think he came back with a 5-year lease purchase as well. But we worked in the $30,000 over the next 4 years on that. And like I said, that all those work into the even tax rate that's at the bottom. So those are pretty much the highlights.
So what was the yearly cost on the lease for that excavator?
30,000.
About 30,000. It's about 120,000. Whether you spread it over 3 or 5 years. Originally or 4 or 5 years. I mean, I don't have the email that Mark sent. But, and those are just estimated numbers. Obviously, we don't. When we actually go and purchase it, it's probably going to be more the way things are going.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
So I guess on that, my question, maybe now's not the time to discuss it. Would it be worth buying a slightly larger backhoe and replacing it more often rather than buy another piece of equipment?
That's for you to discuss with the highway department.
So now's
How's that been thrown off? The CIP committee doesn't. The CIP committee isn't like the budget committee that gets into the whys or the hows or a little bit the whys, but not to that kind of detail of, well, why don't you go do this? It's basically the department heads bring what they think they need to us, and we plan it out and make recommendations based on that. Okay.
It's strictly advisory.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you guys don't have to You can do all of this, none of it, part of it, whichever.
You also increased the paving.
Right.
Yes, yeah, I mean, the cost of everything's going up.
Right.
So you'll see that. The fire equipment, you'll see market increases on those, and they're probably still low for when we get there.
Yeah,
We'll have to adjust again.
in looking at that, that's another one that's always kind of burned me is the timing on life expectancy on those.
Right.
They should not be even. As the person that's maintained those three major purchase vehicles, that ladder truck does not need to be replaced, or should not need to be replaced as long as it's maintained well in 2034. That should be a 30 to 35 year truck.
Okay, that would be good.
Engine 2 runs all the time, it's a
Yeah.
primary vehicle, that should probably be 20. You know, and those, for years, the forethought has never gone into that to try and replace those at the right intervals.
Yeah.
But, you know, I definitely, you know, that ladder truck, we should be able to get 30, 35 years out of. Engine 4 runs more and more often because it's on automatics and mutual aid and all that. So that's a 25-year truck. We got 25 years out of the last one, should get 25 out of this one. You know, and then there's just more and more demand on those things every year is part of the problem too.
Yes.
The call volume
The call rate goes up.
it's not going down.
Yeah.
But fortunately, the revenue is going up every year as well to kind of offset some of that, is, you know, particularly on the EMS side of things.
Yeah, and this is a living document. We update it every year. You know.
I'm not trying to be critical. of
Oh,
you,
no,
it's just-
no, you and I have had this conversation
Yep.
before, and part of the that's part of the reason we went through and changed the numbers.
Yeah.
Is because of our conversation on that, so I thank you.
I mean, because I think last year alone, $27,000 went into engine 2.
Yeah.
And we don't want to be doing that on a regular basis, that's for sure.
No, you may as well buy a new one
Yeah.
at that point.
But that's because of that, you know, compared to the old engine 2, which I and Bob, we both drove that truck, and we got 25 years out of that truck, but that's when we were doing 200 calls a year, and now we're doing 1,500.
Yeah.
So,
I did talk to Dawn about they'll have to start their process a little earlier because we really should be hearing from them before you finalize your budget.
Right.
Yeah.
Going forward.
Actually, when you start doing your budget is when you should have this information, so you know.
just for the record, I'm not advocating buying a new fire truck.
Oh, yes.
Good thing.
Right?
Year one vote on putting it on the warrant, so.
Scott, anything? Any questions?
No. I think that's the
I
only
don't
thing.
want to bug Carol. He's hearing us. Carol, any questions? One question? Sounds like.
Say that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
What?
Can you repeat the question? I've changed these earbuds and they're even worse.
Do you have any questions?
Do I have a question? Do I have a question on what Dawn said? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Yes.
Correct.
No.
Well, that was easy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this is good. And getting it earlier is great.
There's a narrative also in there. The narrative explains a little bit more about each of the individual things, and that's also in your folder.
Yeah, so I was
Yep.
looking at that.
And we've started adding that to their town report. So when CIP does their town report submission, we'll attach their narrative behind the town report submission now.
That's good.
And the CIP plan itself goes into the appendix.
Right.
So
Makes a difference having it. All
Thank
right.
you, guys. I'll
Thank
have it
you.
earlier next year.
Thanks, son.
You're welcome to hang out and.
Oh, yeah, I want to see the sausage being made. It's been a while.
All right, tax rate discussion. So.
I was interested in that too.
Oh, no, why would you be? All right.
So in your folders, there are multiple options. that I've sent out to you ahead of time so you could take a look at it. So I don't know where you want to start with that, but,
Have you got that? Would you mind putting it up in case anybody,
which one? The one
the one with all the options?
It's on a work session,
It's-
1 or 2.
The one,
Nope.
1A through.
So
many options.
I can't.
If you can't, don't worry about it.
Well, maybe, hang on. Don, can you hit shift?
What's that?
Can you hold the shift button for me, would you mind?
Hold this shift?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It takes a full community.
Okay.
Oops, now, okay. It's
What's
not
that?
doing it, never mind.
What do you need to do?
I'm trying to copy all of these off of here.
What can I do
Oh, I'm
from here?
sorry, they were all
Here.
individual. Yeah, don't worry about it.
That's right, because I can blow them, once Don copies.
Down to 11?
Yep. Thank you. I can't leave that part open, that's why.
You're good.
Oh crap, didn't do what I wanted it to do. I forget it, I give up.
All right.
Oh, you just got me into the desktop.
So we
Yeah.
have a number of options that we have laid out here
I know why.
on what we could do for the tax rate. And
With the one with no.
so I'm just gonna zip through the options, just so.
Sure.
For full
Well-
disclosure.
Sorry, if you, the options are some that you probably don't even want to consider though.
Well, that's true.
Let's start with
Um,
number 5. and-
Yeah, I'd say. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
sorry.
All right. I'm gonna start with 4, just so we're on either side of what we're leaning. So 4 would be 40,000 overlay, 150,000 from the fund balance. And the tax rate would increase to $22.93 and overall $9.71. For the town rate, that would be an increase of 84 cents. Option 5, which we were leaning towards option 5 or 6, would be putting 200,000 from the fund balance, and it would bring it to 2284 overall, 962 for the town rate, which is a 75% increase to the
Not
town.
percent, cent.
So, 75 cents. Wow, that would be really bad. There'd be more people pouring in.
I'm walking out of this room.
That would certainly be one way to get it.
I think this room would be filled in 2 weeks, yeah.
Number 6 was putting 250,000 from the unassigned fund balance, and that would make it 953 for the town rate, which would be a 66-cent increase to the town. So, and we were leaning towards that. Now, if I was to go on the other side of that, just for fairness, if we would have put 300,000 towards it, it would bring it down to 57 cents. Our concern is that we don't want to deplete the fund balance down to a level lower than what is recommended, because we've usually kept it a little bit higher, actually a decent amount higher, and so we're gonna be getting very close to the lowest recommended level.
So do you want to touch base a little bit on the overall so that everybody in the
Yeah.
public?
Yes, that would be great.
So we have no, so the state, the local, and the county, we don't control that, but we can let you know that the county did go down 3 cents. It went down to $1.79. I suppose I should pull the other one up, because I don't remember them all by heart. The local education went up by 41 cents to $9.43. The state education, if everybody remembers, they gave us a break for 2022, and they reduced the tax rates, I believe, across the whole state. It went from $1.82 to $1.28 in 2022, which was a nice break. But they told us they were going right back up this year, and they did. Plus, they went from $1.28 to $2 per thousand. And And so those three there, we don't have any control over, but it's the town portion. If we don't do anything to, we're going to go up. So, we're going up no matter what.
We're looking at a
Right.
60 to 70 cent increase with those options. On the town portion.
Right.
Right.
And then if you stay with number 6, which was the 66 cents, it would leave, so the Department of Revenue recommends the 5% retained in your fund balance, and that would leave 5.25% in your fund balance. So,
Which option is that, Christine?
number 6.
6, yeah.
If you did number 8A, which is the last one that Les mentioned, which was the 57 cents, it would drop it just below the 5%, it would be 4.92% in your fund balance.
Yeah, comment?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I don't believe in any way whatsoever we should go below the 5% that the state recommends at all. That's their minimum, but we should definitely not go below that. If something were to occur where we needed more money than that, we would be remiss to say we didn't even follow the state minimum. So I don't think we want to go below 5.
Thanks,
I agree.
Carol. I would concur with that too.
And-
I'm gonna can I make a motion, we go with option 6, which would be to keep 40,000 in the overlay, and apply, sorry, my head's spinning right now. Apply 250,000 of the unreserved fund balance, which would leave that 5%, resulting in a rate, overall rate of 22.75, 953 of which would be the town's portion.
Which is,
Oh.
yeah. You second it?
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Rob, seconded by Scott. Any discussion?
Yep.
Carol?
So something happened to the sound that was like triple echo on that. So you're making the motion to go with option 6. Is that my quick summary?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Before you finalize it, I had forgotten to look, I said I was going to earlier, at our fund balance policy. We say that we would like to keep 10% in there, but I don't think we can, and so I just want to make sure that you were aware of that. I think following the Department of Revenue is the better alternative this time. And just to explain to people who may not understand the overlay is what, we have to set a certain amount of money aside that will, if there's any court settlements or abatements, they come out of that fund, I don't call it a fund, they come out of the overlay. So we don't believe that we can go any lower than 40,000 because we do have a couple of court cases with the utilities right now. We do not think that they will come in next year, but there's always the potential that they could come in to settle, or we could get an order to do something with them. And we do have abatements every year, so.
Thank you.
I feel like we have to do whatever we can right now to take the sting off of the taxpayers. And one of the reasons I feel a little more comfortable, and I'll come out and say it on camera, is, I guess I'm looking forward to this year of having the revenue of the sale of the fire station come back into the general fund. Personally, I don't see, if the town decides otherwise, if we can be convinced otherwise to not sell it and find an alternative use, that's fine, that can be explored. But, at face value right now, that's what I'm looking at, and, hopefully that can, recover some of those, that, at least that 250,000 we're putting in, and take a little bit of the sting off of next year too, so.
Any other comments? You ready to vote? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
4-0-0. Did you say aye?
All right, so I will submit that before I leave tonight, just because, right now, I don't, once the tax bills are done, right, once we have to submit it into the DRA, the DRA has to finish it. The number could change slightly, depending on, when they submit, when they plug everything in. I don't think it will change a lot, it might be a penny, give or take. Once they do that, then they go to assessing, where they run the tax portion, then it goes to the tax collector, and the tax collector won't be back in until Monday. But if she can get them up by Wednesday to the printing company, then the tax bills will be out, but unfortunately, they may not be due until January, so just a heads up, so.
Would we be looking at a TAN in that?
Kathleen and I have been emailing, I do not believe so right now. In the spring, that could change though, because we do have the bond money, some of the bond money that we're able to utilize for the project, but the project is also ramping up, so the public safety building, so. But she is moving some money right now just to make sure that we have $1 million county bill that is due by December 15th that we will have to pay. So she's moving some money to make sure that we have enough to cover everything, so.
Okay, town administrators report?
You sure don't? Don't say it. He's taking over for you. Get comfortable.
What time is it?
So, let me switch paths here. The first thing is the public safety building. With the holiday schedule, the public safety building committee, it's missing a word, has reduced the schedule that we'll be meeting. So there's one meeting in December on December 7th, and then we won't meet for the rest of the year. But things are pretty much moving on their own. I don't think there's a lot of decisions we have to make right now, and we'll start meeting again fully in January. We are working to set up another site visit for the board and the committee. We're hoping to do that when the building is buttoned up a little bit more. So I'll let you know what dates we look at. So, and then I will need to discuss a warrant article potentially. I'm still investigating it, but any of the interest that we've used, we have to write a warrant article to use it, is what I've been found out. So I'm hoping to talk to you about it when we discuss warrant articles on December 7th and have more information for you. So, anything else on that? Highway Department, speed bumps at the high school have been removed. Good news. Central Square trees, the ash borer trees have been removed. If you haven't seen it, they're gone. And the Christmas tree is in.
Yes, it's
I
on.
didn't see that.
The next three, I'm still working on the phone system, the Green Street project, and the street lighting. The Minot Sleeper library issue. I was trying to talk to the librarian before this meeting, and we did not get to connect. But if you look in your materials, under number TA1, there is an email and an estimate. When the new librarian came, apparently there had been a leak in the building. It got fixed in August. When the new librarian came, I don't think she came till, was it October? Close to that?
It's been very recent.
Yeah. She was taking a tour of the building and discovered a mold section. And the mold section is about 1 foot tall and 20 feet wide. So she's had different, I sent the highway department out and they're like, we can't touch this. So they've had two different companies come in, one didn't follow through, and this is the only one that followed through. The quote that's there is quite substantial. What they need to do is treat and clean the mold space along the wall, but they also need to clean the ductwork because the way it was dried wasn't dried appropriately either because it spread. So both companies did say this, that they had to clean the ductwork, but that's the cost. They don't have the money to do all of this cost and in their budget. So
In your budget, but
I didn't get that answer yet. So they were asking if there's any portion of this that we could help them with out of the building fund.
It would be good to know what
What
they
they
have
could.
in their funds,
Right,
other funds other than their, I mean, not necessarily coming out of their operating budget, you wouldn't anticipate a bill like that, but
right,
if you have money set aside for emergencies.
to find out what they have in it. So I didn't get to connect with her,
That's
so I
just-
can go back with her. And then I can come back on the 30th, and just ask you at that meeting if there's some, once they give me a better number.
Have they
I
had
wanted
to
to get-
shut down anything, areas, or shutting down any areas, or they all set to, is it
No.
in an area that the
This
people are
is in the
using?
basement area, so, right, so they don't have to shut down the upstairs yet. But the concern is that it'll spread further into the ductwork potentially, so.
What are other people's thoughts?
I don't think you have much choice.
Has to be done.
Question?
Yes,
So that estimate is only for the remediation work, but there's gonna be more costs, because if they're pulling out a carpet, they're not gonna put it back in, they're gonna have to recarpet, whatever that is. So there's gonna be more cost than just that estimate, am I wrong?
you don't see a new carpet in
Yeah, I don't see where it,
They have not said that they're putting carpet back in. I thought she's taking it out, but what is the base there? Is that concrete?
don't know.
I believe so.
Point being, there may be more cost than this.
Right,
Other than that, I agree with what you guys are saying, yeah.
Oh, wait, carpet remove,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, it says remove
Remove
wet.
wet or contaminated carpet
But-
per square yard, $327,
And then they're gonna,
70 square yards.
yeah.
What do we have left in the building maintenance fund?
Without the finance office, I can tell you an estimate is around 40, but some of that money is being, as spoken for.
Mhm.
So we just had to have a repair here, which is later in the TA report, but we have about 40. It
So-
could be a little less.
Is the duct cleaning immediately necessary, or is that something that could be monitored and done if it,
If it's already in the ducts though.
well, that's the thing, is it actually in the ducts?
They don't, so they came out and they're recommending that they do it, but is it necessary? I don't know. I can, get a little bit more information. Go ahead.
Carol?
Sorry, and additionally, they're tearing out a bunch of sheet rock, but there's no price there for someone to put it back in and refinish it and repaint it, or am I missing that too? I mean, they're tearing out a bunch of sheet rock.
Right.
Yeah, they have to.
Yeah, that, none of that is in here, Carol.
This is just to remediate it and clean the ducts, just that.
So that might be a good question to find out too from them is what's the cost to things back?
And where is the rest of that money coming
Right.
from, right?
Then we'd have a better idea on the total cost.
Okay.
But how quickly does it need to be done? Well, clearly it was there for a while then?
Well, we don't know how much it's grown since August.
Okay.
It was discovered by the new librarian, so. But I mean, it took her weeks to get a company to come in.
Oh, I bet.
So, we can ask them some more questions just to make sure.
And we meet again on the 30th.
We do the work session, yep, so we could potentially give them an answer then, if I get more for them.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, we need to, regardless of the money, we need to move on remediating this as soon as possible, would be my opinion.
Did they
We
say?
gotta find the money somewhere, we gotta move on this before in some way it gets worse or it creates a bigger problem in the library. That would be good, that would be a really bad thing.
I agree.
Was it in here how long before they could get out to do the work?
If, I didn't catch that, Les.
I was just wondering if they indicated how long before they could get to the work. I know some
No.
companies are 8 weeks out on things, but
Doesn't say.
What do we have left in contingency?
I think 23.
What, did they say how much they're looking for?
That's where I was supposed to connect with her.
Okay.
The email just says that whatever, she says I would very much appreciate, whoops, I have to open the email. It's under TA1 for you, if you want to read that as well too, but she said I would very much appreciate if you would ask the board to help us pay for it. It sounds like they want the whole thing. But then I would say that we wouldn't help them with the carpet and the sheetrock then, but that's up to the board.
Well, I agree with Carol in that you need to move right away in the remediation. If it's, you know, as far as the rest of it's concerned, it might have to wait.
As far as rebuilding?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. But if they come back and say they don't have any funds for the remediation, are you willing to do the 4,000?
Thoughts?
We got it.
Either way, it's gonna be our problem.
Okay.
I would try and get whatever you can out of them.
Okay.
We could have him take it out of the hotspot, Mike.
Funny man.
My God.
All right, moving on.
Police department, no, nothing new to report on the police officer position. Speed limit discussion, we are still working, other things have come up, we're still working on the study. However, I did talk to the highway department about Sean's idea. They're looking at signage. There are some signs that have specific wording on them already, and they're gonna try to put something in. So I'll let you know once we confirm. Under TA2, there's a copy of the check that we got for the damaged cruiser. The insurance that came in was for $2,319. The cost is about $1,000 to $1,300 more because we have a $1,000 deductible. So we'll have to take that out of the police department budget, and they're working on getting that repair done. Water sewer department. For the Baton Road project, Jeff has ordered a new part to test the pressure again in this area. Other than this, there's nothing new to report, but he has talked to Mr. Maggio. Open positions, we've gotten a large amount of applications, mainly from, I opened the Indeed, and I've gotten like 20 applications, all for one job. There's only 2 or 3 for the other job, but what?
Which one are you getting them for?
The operator in training. The other one, I've gotten 21 applications for that, and through Indeed. He's gotten some outside of it, which was really good. I think the different approach that we did with the advertising, I might have helped a little bit, not sure, but, so, and I've gotten 3 for the, assistant operator. There is 1 or 2 that have certifications, so he's got some potential, and he's going to start interviewing this week and next week. He is actually sending everybody that has applied an email that says they may not hear from him until closer to the end of the month, but he'll start getting in contact with them, so.
That's great.
So fingers crossed, we may have both positions filled, fingers crossed. Assessing and land use department, nothing new to report on South Main Street. There are under TA3 veterans cards that were sent out thanking veterans who served, who were on our exemption list. We can't thank everyone because we don't know who they are, but we were able to do the thank yous for the people that are getting exemptions or credits.
Nice.
As new applicants come on, they will also get this thank you card.
Is that something new?
Yes,
That's
very new,
great.
so.
On that note, it was nice to see the crowd at the homestead the other night for the
Yeah.
Oh, I bet.
free prime rib. Did you go?
Free prime.
I drove by, and I was like, I'm not going in that. And I did get a card, thank you.
Well, they did post on Facebook too at the police department to be aware of.
Yeah.
Oh, I think someone must have called it in a complaint, because at 4:40, they were already
The
out.
parking lot was full at 4:30, yeah.
Oh, they were on the road, on both
Oh,
sides.
yeah, yeah.
Great for the homestead to put that on.
That is pretty cool.
Under the executive department, nothing new to report on the Eversource billing. Holiday luncheon, there are 2 quotes under TA4 for you. We did reach out to a different location, and we reached out to our normal location, and both quotes are in there. I just wanted to confirm that the board still agrees with pushing this to January and not trying to do a holiday luncheon for everybody at Christmas time. But I wanted, before, we put the date in there right now, the date was January 26th. And then the other facility wouldn't give us a menu until we actually book with them, so we don't, and we believe it's just going to be a dish that they pick, where the regular venue that we go to offers the buffet, offers 3 hours. It is a comparable price, both of them are very comparable.
I would much rather us support an in-town business.
Yep, so that was our recommendation, so we can move forward with the January 26th luncheon date if you're good with that.
I think that makes sense. Yeah, we did agree to push it out, so people have enough on their
Yeah.
calendars in December.
And I think, I don't have the snow date in front of me, but I think it's the following week, so, in case there's a snowstorm, but. Under TA number 5, the new, we're getting an echo, Carol.
Carol, you want?
The sound has just gone completely wonky. I'm not catching anything that you guys are saying after the sewer positions. It's just jumping all over the place. It's not that I can't hear it, it's just cutting in and out. It shouldn't be on my end. I mean, this is my good computer.
You might have to mute unless you're talking.
Because there is sound coming, but it's not you.
Yeah, we can hear everything we're saying over your computer.
Yeah, see, I'm not catching that. It's just like, it's just chopped. Let me sign off and sign back on. Let me give it another shot.
I think it's because it's not muted and it's flowing through.
Through speakers. Well, we're waiting for him to come back in. In TA number 5, you have the Newfound Area School District revised payment schedule. They've revised the school payments for December through June. Our current payment is which includes it's the local and the state. It's $554,496, and the new payment does go down to $516,051. I don't understand completely why, because our taxes went up, but I do believe some of it is probably the assessments and other schools, other towns as well.
All right, I'm back.
Can you hear us?
Yep, that sounds better already.
I moved the microphone over here, but
Yeah, no, it was glitching out for some reason.
alright, so
So we
You were
talked,
talking about the lunches, is that what you were talking about, the luncheon?
we did talk about the lunches. The quotes were fairly equal there in the packet, and it sounds like our pleasure is to stay with an in-town business.
I agree with that. I will re-express my hesitancy from last year about whether we should be doing this or not in the current financial climate everyone's in. The board, we did agree to go forwards with it last year. There was a conversation that was valuable for the employees. I thought the 2 new board members should know that we had that conversation last year, that I had some concerns about whether it's something we should even be doing or not. I was convinced last year by the rest of the board to move ahead, but I think it's fair to just have a quick conversation about it.
No, anything else you want to say, or open it up to
No.
another discussion?
No, just thought that Rob and Scott ought to be aware that we talked about this last year, and I have concern about spending the money, and I think that by the time the conversation was done, I was convinced that it was a better thing to do for the welfare of the town employees and the good of the town overall, so.
I can throw this out there too. I mean, the event, the summer event was, I thought came out very well. But we could do something similar, again, but I don't know if that's what you would like to do instead.
Well, the building was not even open in January.
No, well, we will have to open it if voting's there, because voting starts in January.
Yeah.
So we are closing the building, while you're talking about that, right after Thanksgiving, when the Christmas tree is done. We're closing the building that following week down, because we can't afford to keep that building open for December. So we will have to open it back up in January if voting is up there in January. That's when the primary election is. So we could move it to a different building if that's something. You don't have to make the decision today. We could certainly talk about this since we're not doing it in December. But we know we probably don't want to go to the outside vendor. So as long as we get an answer to the in-town vendor, whether we're going to do them or not, use them or not. So
I don't think you're gonna save much money. Let's say if you took this and had that food brought there, you're not gonna save much money.
no, I'm like I was thinking.
Or you
that
want me
this-
to cook?
Yeah, you guys would cook again. I want you to cook again. So
Remembering it's winter.
like I know that's the
Maybe
problem.
grill.
So it's like the summer barbecue where the thought was every department brought something, which every department did.
Potluck, yeah.
And then the only thing that we ended up paying for the summer and we combined it with training, mandatory training. So this is more of an employee recognition. We do years of service and more things like that. Could we make it a potluck again? And you could
I
cook,
think your turnout would be very low.
unless you combine it with mandatory training again.
Right.
But,
This is supposed to be the holiday.
right. So you could think about it if you'd like, but
We don't have to, when do we have to decide by?
I don't think he put a date on it, but I think if we let him know, we would make a decision by December 7th.
But it's 30th, we could decide.
Or you could do it at the 30th. And then you have Sean's input as well for that.
Scott, any meeting either way?
I'm leaning for it, just morale. I mean, it's money, but I think it's money well spent.
I do remember the gratitude after last year's of how pleased the employees were that they felt valued from that, which was good.
One of our biggest problems right now is employee retention, and
Mhm.
anything we can do for employees.
And I heard a lot of good feedback about the summer, but you put it on the employees to bring food
Right.
to it, which is okay for a summer barbecue training session, but when you're talking about recognition and
It's a once a year thing. I mean, if this was, it's not like we're showing this out every 3 or 4 months, so.
did you hear that, Carol?
Carol, any more input? You good?
I would go ahead with it. You don't need a vote on that, I don't think.
No, I would concur.
I just need majority, so.
All right, it's on.
And Carol, while you were coming back in, we just pointed out in TA number 5, the new revised payment schedule starts December for the school district.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
The next next section, I said that I was going to try to do this on the agenda, but I didn't have anything prepared. But the warrant article preliminary discussion. So the budget committee, we might as well touch base on that for a second. There were some items at the budget committee that they felt should be warrant articles. A certain member felt there should be warrant articles, but he didn't provide the list at this last meeting. He did agree that he would provide it by the next meeting, which is 2 days before your work session, November 28th.
What those are.
Well, one of them was the
Tasers.
grant, not the tasers, the grant.
I thought he said.
Oh, the radar.
The radar.
Okay, radar.
Yeah, so the grant radar, he felt that it should be a warrant article. So whether, they haven't voted on that obviously yet, but my concern that I brought up at the budget committee meeting was you can't wait to vote on that because the warrant articles are gonna start to be done. If there's specific things that you want to be warrant articles, you need to vote on that earlier, so that gives the board time to be able to put those as warrant articles.
Is that the one that's also the body camera contract?
No, it's separate.
No, it isn't, okay, so
It's separate. The body camera contract and the tasers became, they were two separate lines, they became one. And then the grant line was the one that, it was the radar.
Yeah, so that's the grant funded one, yeah.
So they,
He gave that
the
example as one.
chair asked, the chair did not want him to share everything yet because he really hadn't finalized his thoughts. But he did ask him to, at the next meeting, have everything finalized so that the committee could make some decisions on it.
So that way I can come back to you at the board level and determine what you would like to do, whether to put those on warrant articles or not.
One of the really, what was very nice at the budget meeting is, to a member, everybody agreed that what we're doing with the employees is important and that it shouldn't be touched. So it was good to see that solidarity on that.
So, this is the preliminary discussion about warrant articles. I'd like to set up a work session with department heads that have talked about warrant articles, and have them come in and talk to you so we can make final decisions at December 7th, so we can start preparing the document. Right now, obviously, the budget is a warrant article, contingency fund is a normal warrant article, and that amount would have to, I put the amount we normally do, which is 25,000. That would have to be decided whether you want to do that or not again. Fireworks discussion, it put to be determined, because we do have to try and fine tune that.
So I got a call out.
Yeah.
There was one company out there that would actually have barges. And that's the one I'm waiting to hear back from. I need to follow up with them again because I did not get a return call.
Can you hear him, Carol?
Sort of, there's a company that will do it with barges, is kind of what I
There's only one company that does that service, and I'm waiting
Okay.
to hear back from them. I need to follow up with them again because it's been over a week now.
So all we really need is a price, because we know we do want to make that a warrant article.
There can't be only one company that does that. Excuse me, Rob, I'm not trying to be rude. I apologize how that sounded. There can't be only one company that does that.
There's only one company in New England that will
In
fire
our-
them off a barge.
In our area, even when I was doing that research, I only had one company who, everybody else wanted to do it from land.
We have
Yeah.
And we have no land to do it from.
Okay,
Alright,
thank you.
so we'll work on that. The project is the next one. Should have some better numbers on that, to bring back to you. Capital reserves, I put these, so the capital reserves list here is what CIP recommends. I do think that they need to be adjusted slightly. But you've got the standard ones, the accrued wages, the assessment reval, the fire equipment, the highway equipment, the police vehicle, the town building maintenance, and then, so we would have to have a bigger discussion on what those amounts would be. Questions I do also have is that, I'm slowly working on talking with the department heads, but some are on vacation. So the six-wheeler is due to be replaced in 2024, and Mark is questioning would the board prefer this is done by capital reserve or warrant article.
What color is it gonna be?
The big question is.
Can we put the old logo back on? Sorry.
I'm gonna die on that hill.
Sorry.
It's not like we hold on to these things.
So that would be a discussion, obviously, just putting in your head. The rubber track excavator, Mark asked if it should be, CIP requested that it be a warrant article. And Mark asked if the board would prefer 2024 or 2025. So, other items, I'm finalizing some more items to bring to you. That's, I just want to touch base with department heads. I don't think anybody else has anything, but I want to touch base. And then the item I mentioned about the interest. So, is there anything you think is missing, or obviously this is going to have to be a bigger discussion about how much we actually put into the warrant articles, and whether we do all of those or not.
So, a couple of these things. Six-wheelers due to be replaced doesn't need to be replaced. Option one. And then as far as the excavator is concerned, it's, we're taking on so much right now.
Right.
I'm just not ready to, I don't think we're ready to go there this year.
Okay. Well, and is it better for us to invite those department heads
Yeah.
that have potential warrant articles and
Yes.
capital reserve to
Yeah.
this December 7th? Okay.
Yeah, you're right. Due to be replaced and needs to be replaced are two different things.
Right, and there's always an extra six-wheeler sitting down there, so.
So we'll do it as a work session on December 7th. And then unanticipated revenues, I will prepare those also for December 7th. Just wanted to let you know, we did just receive FEMA reimbursement from the December 22nd, 2022 storm. So that will be an unanticipated revenue for you. Additional block grant payment just came in November. It's not the same as regular block grant payments. Have printed out some information on what we're allowed to use it for and how it is used. It does not count as a revenue to offset your taxes. It's separate than your regular block grant. And there's supposed to be another bridge payment coming next month, is what they're saying, and I will have that information for you as well, and hopefully the number by the time of the December meeting. Speaking of FEMA, the July storm has just been, not for Grafton County. We previously were excluded from the July storms. Grafton County wasn't made emergency declaration. So they have declared Grafton County, and I believe they added Sullivan, but don't quote me on that. But we are checking to see, the concern is that the storm dates that they put in may not be anything that we can apply for, but Ben is working on that, and we have to apply by Monday if we do qualify. So
Is Ben back?
Ben's back Monday, yeah. We did have to have a building repair, I mentioned that earlier. Our pressure tank went, the alarm system works really well. I came into it going off and I'm, okay, what is this? So we had Bristol Plumbing and Heating replace that. So, community power, I'm working on the joint powers agreement. I received a form, but all it was a signature page telling me to sign it, and I'm like, no, where's the rest of it?
Not how that works.
So we hope to have that, and I'll let you see that before it comes in. The first public hearing for that is scheduled at the Minot Sleeper Library for Tuesday, November 21st at 6:30 p.m. I posted it on the town's website, and it's also been shared in other places. I also reviewed an article for the Energy Committee, Transformation of Energy, edited it, and allowed them to submit it to support the community power.
Have we already had any feedback from legal on that at all, or
Which part?
on the, or like the GPA or?
I don't have it.
Okay.
They sent me a
All right,
page.
Yep, that's received.
Did I bring it? No, I didn't bring it. It sent me a page with all these lines of signatures. I'm like, where's the rest of this? This says attachment E. I'm not signing this until I see what agreement it is. So I'm waiting for that,
So on the 21st, you need to be at the senior center for lunch. And then at the
And then go
library
to
for the
the-
energy committee.
The library to watch the presentation.
At the same time.
Just a reminder for the public, there is still an open position on the cemetery trustees. If But at this point, I would say that it wouldn't be appointed by the town, but if somebody's interested in running, they should put their name on the ballot.
Hi, Carol.
Sorry.
Well, yes.
Sorry, I wasn't
It's
looking
like
up.
Spock.
Dr. Spock.
Going back to the community power, so I'm assuming you guys voted last meeting when I wasn't there to move ahead, so.
Yes.
What you had in your, 04 TA6 transformation of energy,
Yep,
is that the article you're saying is going in the buzz?
yes.
Okay, is it already in there?
It's not in yet, no. I gave it to Cade. Is there something you see wrong?
Yes, I don't know if any of you guys have read that, it is so biased and so much driven to make people make a decision that I don't think we should be behind this article. It's opinion and, I'm not in favor of it at all, not at all.
This is in the current, the November 10th.
Yeah, it's, no, not in there yet, sorry, it's under TA6. Go
Oh.
into your folder.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Let's go back to the conversation we had in the work session.
I don't disagree with them, that we were pretty clear about the parameters of we weren't going all in on everything that they thought, just the option. And this does sound like a cheerleader for the whole.
No, I wasn't there for the vote, so I'm not complaining one bit about what you guys did. I'm saying that this, as an explanation of what we're doing, this is trying to convince people about a path to take, and I don't think it's appropriate for us to approve this, to put it in the buzz. I don't like it.
I
just don't like it.
Yeah, we concur.
Okay, I can take it back and let him know.
Carol, just, I know you weren't here, I voted to put it to the, my thought was to put it to the voters and let them decide. But this is a whole nother,
It was labeled the democratization of energy in New Hampshire. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, we
No.
can't use that word.
Because it's representing
Yeah.
the town.
Yeah.
This is coming from the committee,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is, well,
He can put it in
As a
into
personal.
articles as a personal, but not in the buzz.
Was this submitted from
This
the,
This is the energy committee chair.
okay.
right, and Rob, I agree, if we're putting it to the voters, they need to have unbiased, completely unbiased and informative information,
exactly.
not biased and opinionated information.
Right.
This makes me want to tell her to hold off on signing that JPA until we discuss this further.
But let's remember
No.
that this isn't what's.
No, if you guys voted, no, you guys voted on that, but I don't like this article. It says, okay, I'll read part of this to you, sorry, and Representative Sellers and I can take an issue with
He's
it. Our
here.
legislative leaders need to stop living in the past and propping up the fossil fuel and nuclear industry with the old untrue troops like we all need larger pipelines to reduce the cost of energy in New Hampshire. Is that what the select board believes?
No, this is exactly what my concerns were with this in the first place.
And I think we were pretty clear that we
Yeah.
do not want personal opinion to
And
be
which,
represented.
this is my fault then, but because when I edited this, I
wasn't for
didn't-
that.
Right, so, yep. So I can read
So,
back.
Move ahead, but even if we have to write this ourselves, maybe that's a better idea.
Thank you, Carol, for picking up on that.
Thank
I
you.
have not looked at it yet.
So whenever he submits anything going forward, I can make sure it's not personal opinion, it's actual facts.
Maybe send it
And,
out.
yeah, and send it out to the board, yeah.
But let's not throw the baby out.
I don't, no, I'm not trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but what I wanted to bring to the voters was to let them decide whether they want a choice in their energy costs and
Right.
to be able to determine what their energy bill is, not and, you know, it's not that I don't support solar power, wind power, and like, it's not that I completely don't support that, I don't have an agenda one way or the other there, but that's not what this was about for me, and when I voted to agree to that GPA, so.
I agree.
Okay.
And I completely respect that, Rob, I get that, I completely get that. But again, let's not manipulate people to get a vote.
Yeah,
There's no question what this is doing.
yeah, we're on the
And it
same
says,
page.
and I don't know, if you guys may have talked more about this, the last sentence, the first page there. Not only does it offer a low cost of electricity by exchanging the old profit-based model for a non-profit cooperative structure. I don't believe that's what the gentleman told us. There will be money made, and they will be putting it towards renewable energy. So I'm not sure if I call it a non-profit structure or not, but I want to make sure that it's fair and clear when we put this out there. Enough said.
I
Thank
think the
you.
money that's put towards renewable energy is if you as a consumer pick that category.
Right, but you need to educate everybody to even make that decision, that's
So
part of the problem.
here's the other question then,
No, I think my point was, they're saying it's non-profit, and I guess that would be an argument for someone that knows more about business than I do, but I don't know that I would agree with
His
that.
argument on that was that one group answers to board of directors and shareholders, and their group will not have that. So that was what the argument was on that.
So one question I have then is that we've okayed the public hearings to be hosted by this person who is, so the public hearings are supposed to be representing
So
information.
select board members should definitely be
Right.
at each
Right,
of those.
and that's my, I mean,
Clarify.
are we letting the, you know, are we
That
letting
goes
the
back
wolf
to
in
the
the
work session.
house here?
I can think of the perfect select board member to be there.
Next Tuesday, I'm not so sure though.
Yeah, probably not.
I
I'll
will-
pick you up.
I will.
I
be
can
there
make
for
a,
it,
I
All
can
right,
make
you're
sure
gonna
that
go
I
to
go
I will
too,
try to, yes.
I think.
What, and that's the
Thank you,
library at noon?
It says 6:30, I think.
Tuesday.
6:30
First off.
Tuesday evening.
Oh, I can go, so I can go.
Sorry, what was that? When, who, what, where,
We're
what?
talking
You're all
about-
talking at once.
The first, it is the 21st at the library?
Yeah.
It's 21st at the library, the first informational session that
The first
Chair.
public information.
public information with the chair
21st of what?
of November.
Next Tuesday.
Seriously. Okay.
Okay, you'll
Rob
pull-
said he can
pull
go.
that for me.
I'm gonna try.
You'll pull that for me, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Um,
we were on events.
Health Trust is still holding their member meeting if anybody's interested, December 7th at 3 p.m. Communications, Newfound Area School District SB2 meeting dates and deadlines. We'll start to create a town meeting page on the website like we usually do, and we'll make sure this is on there, but their petition for warrant articles are due January 9th, their budget hearing January 8th, and then filing for district positions are January 24th through the February 2nd. Each of these towns, like, so Danbury, Groton, Hebron, New Hampton all have an opening on the school board. The budget committee, Danbury, Groton, and Hebron have an opening. The moderator, it also has an opening.
That's a
And-
lot.
Yeah,
The school board.
their first deliberative session is February 3rd with a snow date of February 5th. And then also in your packets is a New Hampshire Department of Energy newsletter, if you're interested, so. And that's it. That's all she wrote.
Thank you.
And one more thing, no I'm kidding.
No, you're gonna wait till we're ready to adjourn and then, oh.
And then I remember.
All right, select board items. Carol, have you got anything?
You're muted.
For yeah,
Here we go. I'll repeat myself. If we're gonna do Zoom for anybody, we need a better system. We need a better microphone system. We talked about it last time. I did I think Kate and I talked about this, there's a really nice system, just like the one you got up front, that aims the microphones where the people are talking from and moves the camera around by itself. We need something better. Enough said, let's talk about it later.
Is that it? Yeah. All right, Scott?
I was at a chamber event, Central New Hampshire Chamber event up at Waterville Estates on Tuesday. There was a Rotary member from the Plymouth Rotary that spoke, and the Rotary has a collection bin for styrofoam.
Plastic?
No, styrofoam.
Oh, it came through with plastic on one of the things, okay.
So Don was
Yeah,
there,
styrofoam.
and
Yeah.
he spoke of styrofoam.
Okay,
So I didn't know if that's something we should have the sustainability committee look into, or the Rotary Club members look into.
we had talked about this with some of the Plymouth Rotarians, that it would be good to see if we could combine efforts and do ours
So,
with them.
so how it works is they have a collection bin, and people drop the foam in, and then someone comes by and collects the foam, and then it gets sent to Guilford and processed.
Did it have to be clean, all clean?
I think so, yeah.
Well, it's packaging, so it.
Right, well, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that stuff too,
Yeah.
but yeah,
It was a little hard to hear him, so we didn't get all the details.
We were asked to participate at one point, but we didn't get in by the deadline, and that was with Guilford, if I remember correctly.
I can reach out to Plymouth Rotary and see if they'd send a speaker to about this to one of our meetings.
Or to the sustainability committee.
Maybe invite the sustainability.
So this is
Same
something that
time.
would occur at the transfer station.
So it'd be like having a separate dumpster for people that dump their styrofoam into.
Does he have space?
Right, and that's would, I don't know what size bin is required, but it might help us with our offset some of the solid waste disposal fees and such.
It's not a lot of weight, but it's a lot of volume.
Right.
So now you're talking
So
trucking
it'll
costs.
take the hauling fee down.
Okay, I will follow up on that, and then if we end up doing a Zoom on it, then I would include the select board.
There is one more thing, but it's from we have the transfer station lead attendant had been hired. We're supposed to start December 4th, but you will see the new base starting next week. They're starting 2 weeks early.
Nice.
His name is Chuck Cullen, and he will be joining the staff over at the transfer station. And you might see some changes, obviously the changes will probably come here first, but he's gonna look at different things and options. We also accepted a resignation from our shared administrative assistant. She's leaving. She's gonna start a family. So our temporary part-time person who has been training has been moved into her position and will take over effective December 1st. And will be the new administrative assistant for the highway, assessing, and land use. I think that was all we. Do you still have those forms? Do you still have those forms over there?
These forms?
Okay, good, just checking.
I put them there in case Sean would end up making it. We can pass those back to Christine. All right, Rob, anything?
The only thing I was gonna bring up was the tree lighting's coming up on the
Day after Thanksgiving.
day after Thanksgiving, 24th.
And
Yeah.
were you part of putting the tree up?
I was not part of putting the tree up. I did get a message from Hilda today. I haven't talked to her yet, but just to
To
let me
decorate.
know that the tree was up, so
Yeah.
we know what that means. Yeah, that's coming up, and other than that, I don't have anything else I haven't already brought up.
Great. The Lions Club's planning on being there with hot chocolate.
Santa.
And Santa and Mrs. Claus will be coming in
Yes.
on the fire truck. There may be some characters that show up as well, so it's usually a good night. Hopefully the weather will hold, it's rainy. I think that you took the one thing I was thinking of too, was tree lighting. Oh, and actually just as a plug for them, the Festival of Trees at the Old Town Hall will be that Friday
And the
and
following.
Saturday.
Yeah.
So the same day as the tree lighting and then all day that Saturday.
Yep.
So that one is well worth attending.
The orange folder too, so.
Les is gonna sign.
I don't think Les
I
is.
think
I
Les is
signed
gonna
this.
sign the,
And I think they signed it too.
I don't think he signed it.
So, everybody done with comments? Do we have,
Carol?
I asked Carol
Oh,
first.
you did, okay.
He wants better
Yes, so
success
much.
on a first.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Any public comments?
Yeah, I have one.
Can you just say your name for the record? And,
John Sellers, Bristol
not
resident.
that we don't know.
So I have a dilemma, and Christine's well aware of it. And I just wanted to pass a few things out to you guys. This is like a 2-page item there. And then going on the back here is just a single page. And I was just gonna talk just for a few minutes about this, okay? I think this out there, you know? Just in case. My dilemma is, I've been asking for over a year and a half now, or at least over a year. My property is broken up into 2 pieces. It's broken up into village residential and also rural. And I have a camper on there, which I like to use for an Airbnb. I also enjoy it myself during the summer and whatnot, and we do, but when we're not using it, we have it up on the property, and we'd like to use it for people that would come and have an experience that would actually, with the chickens, goats, dogs, cats, and who knows whatever kids are on the property. But in any case, so the problem is I'm not able to use it, and if I am, well, first of all, I'm not able, and Christina could probably fill you in better on this, I'm not able to do that because it's not a resident, it's a RV. And where I'm in a residential village, I have to get a special exemption, first of all, to be a short-term rental, but since it's not a resident, I can't use it as a short-term rental. So it's kind of like I'm catch-22. So the information I passed out here was on that 2-page one, as I'm saying, the one thing I've actually kind of learned this last year of being a representative, and this has nothing to do with personal, this is my personal property here, but I've learned a lot about the New Hampshire and US Constitution, and that it is the ultimate law. All right, all RSAs must match up to the Constitution, or either that or illegal. All right. And so one of the things I wanted to bring up was, Article 2, this is Part 1, Article 2, that all men have certain natural, essential, and inherent rights, among which are the enjoying and defending life and liberty, acquiring, possessing, and protecting property, and in a word, of seeking and obtaining happiness. By me renting out that camper gives me happiness, all right? And also other people get to enjoy that. I don't believe some of the zoning that goes on, not just in Bristol, but throughout the state, I think they're really stepping on the rights of the people, and I just wanted to point this out. The other thing that I found, which has become an issue, is Part 1, Article 2B, which has to do with privacy, rights of privacy. It says an individual has rights to live free from government intrusion and private and personal information. And it goes on to natural, essential, and inherent. When I have somebody looking up my information on the internet, which it is public information, but when that person's a government employee, I believe they're intruding on my privacy. I don't think they should be actually looking into my, what I have, what I'm doing on my property, unless there was a complaint brought up about that. But going on from there, and I'm not going to keep reading it, this is why I printed it out so you guys could actually read it. I made a few statements in here, and that I picked up along the line. as the shackles of zoning are cast off, private property owners, again, regain control over their economic and social destinies through their exercise of their natural liberty. Again, zoning is becoming a problem. And I can tell you at the state level, government-wise, they're looking at zoning. There's probably about 4 or 5 bills on there this session, just on zoning. So the local towns and cities are gonna have their zoning, or some of it, taken away if they don't start, helping the people and themselves as far as making zoning reasonable. If they're making it too unreasonable, the state's gonna vote on it, all right? And it's not necessarily, one party over the other. It's both, parties, Republicans and Democrats. It's somewhat both. So you're gonna get these zonings possibly passing at the state level, which is gonna be a damper on the towns and cities saying, well, I don't want that to happen in my village residential, but that's what's going on. So I just wanted to kind of get an idea on that. And then the single page I gave you was, a potential warrant article, I said, or a zoning article. I said, maybe this is a way this would fix it for my case and maybe others that would be in the same case. And I put down there the current zoning, all right, what it looks like in the ordinance, and I also put the recommendation as far as the warrant article that I'd like to see maybe you could look into, go on board with, and if you're not interested, then maybe I'll go for a petition at that point. But if it comes from you, it would actually say the word for petition. So that's just a quick overview, all right? So I'm in a dilemma. I've been asking for a 1.5, 2 years to fix my zoning, my property first of all, and it's been put off twice now, all right? So, and I don't understand why. And just so happens my property is the very last property in village residential. And I have 3 lots, and 1 lot is still rural. And yet the water runs off that hill, and it's a hill. It's not like flat land or anything like that. So when you go and look at the definitions and stuff, it all should be rural. But it was just, for whatever reason, it was zoned incorrectly. That's all. Last thing, as far as representative-wise, there's over 800 bills this coming session, and plus there's another over 300 bills in the Senate. So we're looking at 1,100 bills. The Education Committee themselves are looking at over 100 bills. All right, over 100. There's a battle in education. I mean, a huge battle. And it's just, it's not all Republicans, it's not all Democrats. We both got bills in there, so. But there's a lot, I'm just saying, there's a lot of bills out there, and it is keeping us busy. So they expected, for just being a few days in session, looks like we'll probably be about, I think another 20 days this year.
Wow.
25 maybe.
So this is a lot more than normal?
Yeah, I guess it's usually around maybe 800 altogether. Now there's 1,100. I think last session was close to the same. Yeah.
Are they funding bills for education, or is it
Not
just?
necessarily, no. Some of them are trying to fix things. Sometimes the state puts through, which we've learned, they put through bills saying, hey, by the way, school, you have to do this. And it costs money for the school to do it. But then they don't fund it. Mm-hmm. Well, that's against the Constitution. So now another bill goes through to fix that one. So that's what happens. So, little things like that.
John, just is this something are you currently?
I can't currently do it because I've been told not to. I can't.
Yeah.
I've been told by the town I can't.
So I know what this. Have you looked into having your property rezoned? Would that?
So I've asked the
The
planning.
planning board has to do
to
that.
fix it.
Yeah. And you're not getting the response, or you're not getting the.
Well, it's been put off 2 years now. So
Yeah.
they didn't do it last year, and now they didn't do it this year.
Yeah.
You see, so.
And it's not within our purview to force their hand on anything like that, I don't imagine.
I'm gonna do a little research. I think you
Yeah.
can.
I'd like to know a little more about it at least.
We've approached when I was in assessing land use, we've approached the planning board about fixing the split zones. because it is very difficult for the applicant or the property owner. It's also difficult for land use because when you have a property that's split by two zones, the stricter zone applies.
Yeah.
So in John's case, the stricter zone is the village residential, and it requires, for taking the living quarter piece out of it, if it was just a short-term rental, it requires a special exception, which you have done for another rental. So that's separate from the RV issue. So the RV is not considered to be living quarters. It's not, and by definitions of zoning. So he would need a variance to operate an Airbnb because it requires the structure or whatever the Airbnb is to be a living quarters. So.
Okay. And you've applied for the variance and haven't?
No.
And that brings up another case. I've already paid $200 to let my neighbors know I have an Airbnb.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna pay over another $200, actually more now because the price went up, for the same thing. And not even being guaranteed that it would actually go through.
And it's unattached,
It's
sorry.
it was a second unit and it was unattached.
Yeah, so John has his house and he has an Airbnb that's attached inside the structure.
Gotcha.
And that's what he paid for to get his special exception because the split zoning required it because the more restrictive zoning. The RV is not an attached unit, it is in a separate location than the home, and because it's unattached and because it's not considered living quarters, it can't be used as an Airbnb. So there's a
May I?
couple
Yes.
things there, so.
Don might remember this. So, in our definition, an accessory dwelling unit has to be attached and has to have a door between that we can't require to be locked. Am I about right?
I think you can require it to be locked, yes.
No, but by law, I don't think we can, but we'll talk about that later.
Well, we can't require it to be locked or unlocked, all they have to do is be attached.
It
and
just has to be
size.
attached.
Now, Don, or does anyone remember when that was passed? Why did let me back up a little bit. The New Hampshire Housing Authority says that under RSA 674, which talks about accessory dwelling units, a town can opt to allow accessory dwelling units to be detached. So your mother-in-law apartment could be a small, it has to be smaller than the original and all those things, but it doesn't have to be attached to the house. Is there a reason we didn't go for that we decided that they have to be attached?
I believe it.
Does anybody?
That
I can
predates
tell you-
my planning board experience.
Oh, no, you were there, I think. So accessory dwelling units, the law passed 2 years ago, was it? 2 or 3?
Yep.
2 or 3 years ago, the law passed to allow accessory dwelling units, and towns had to adopt legislation or they had to adopt rules or they couldn't do anything with accessory dwelling units because legislation was specific. So the planning board did have, I believe it was one of Tyler, when Tyler was here and wrote the ordinance, and there were options that were provided to the planning board. And because the zoning ordinance already requires attached for living units, that's when they didn't make it, they kept it the same because it was already existing and they didn't want it to be contradicting, if I remember correctly. Because you can't have unattached structures unless they're living structures, unless they're grandfathered or you apply for variance.
Well, by our existing zoning or by the accessory dwelling unit law? It specifically says that we can choose to allow them to be detached.
Correct.
It's a conversation we should have.
Correct, you can allow them to be detached, but the planning board at the time chose not to make a contradiction in the existing zoning ordinance.
In existing what, sorry?
In the existing zoning ordinance.
Okay, and I kind of agree with John on this. We start to sound very governmental here because we just fall back on this is what's written and this is the way it is. Therefore, we can't possibly do anything for anyone because this is how it's written. Goodbye. and we can't be like that, we just can't be like that. But I think this needs some work.
And
Just to follow
I think
up,
Christina
sorry.
did say she's
Clicking
going
my
to
pen.
follow up on it.
So,
That's all.
and I just make a comment about that, Carol? I have no horse
Sure.
in this, I have no horse, John and I have talked about this. My comment is, these are voted on by your voters. They're the ones who voted these articles in, and these rules in. Yes, some people might just check off and just say yes all the way down, but I don't know if that's true or not, so that's why, I just didn't want you to, I didn't want people to think that we just make up the rules arbitrarily, because we don't, we just get stuck having to enforce them.
No, and that's very fair, that's a wise thing to put out on the camera. I'm just saying that we should, if that is, in some way, doesn't seem to be right, that we should work to correct it. How's that?
That's better.
And I don't think it's right, I think if you wanna make an in-law apartment, and you wanna put it 15 feet from your house, and that's allowed under the law, I think we should change our zoning to say that's okay, unless for some reason Bristol residents think that that's a problem. So we need to talk about it as we move ahead. Put that on the planning board agenda.
Well, the ADU won't help John's particular situation, it's a little bit different, but yes, it should be talked about.
I was gonna say, the other thing that to bring up is that they do allow, you can actually live in your RV for a year on undeveloped property. So
If you
technically, it's a resident for a year.
If you have a permit to build,
I understand that, I was just saying the resident connection.
Yeah,
that's what's gonna be
yeah.
Should be just at your
Right.
property, as long as your neighbor doesn't complain.
that. As long as you're not causing any
People living in campers.
public safety or
Yeah.
environmental hazard. I
Right,
think.
exactly.
Anyways, I
But
just wanted to bring
We
it up.
dealt with it when.
Carol, did you have something else to say?
Yeah, sorry, you were all talking. But John makes a great point. He's making my point exactly. We get so involved in our zoning ordinance and rules and regulations and what they say that we forget what doesn't make any sense. So what he just said, a trail can be a residence if you have a building permit, but it can't be a residence if you don't have a building permit. Now, what kind of sense does that make? None, to me. But that's what it says, and I'm not blaming the land use people, because they can only go by what's written, but that's, when the average person looks at that, they say, this doesn't make sense. We need to make it better. Yeah, I know, I'll get appointed to the committee.
Any other public, Dawn?
Yeah, just to comment.
Dawn Milbrand, Bristol.
Don Milbrand, Bristol, sorry. To comment on, why things aren't changed as much. People complain now if there's 20 zoning law changes, and like you said, there's 1,100 bills that you're looking at. So there's a limit to how much can really be changed. Not so much how much can be changed, but how much people will stomach changing every year. I've been trying on the planning board a couple of years to get the split zoning changed.
Me too.
Because it's, Christina and I have talked about this, because in some places it's just crazy, the way the zoning is basically gerrymandered almost, for whatever reason originally.
And if you look at even Lake Street as an example, they took and picked an arbitrary number of 200 feet from the center line. Well, it split all those properties down the road, and we don't have a choice. Like, we had to have somebody come to the zoning board who had to get a special exception to do something because this property was split, and
On my road, Hemphill Road, one property is zoned
no, we
lake.
fixed it.
Yeah, was zoned for lake, and the rest of them are rural. So why would one property have to go to a totally different set of rules than everybody else in the block? So that's.
It isn't always common sense.
So
Yeah,
we fixed a couple of them, but
Yeah,
then.
so it's some areas aren't that easy to fix. So, but the planning board is trying. Two other things. One is, technically when you have a Zoom, you're supposed to do a roll
Roll call
call vote.
vote.
Just as a reminder.
Thank you.
That's just a reminder.
That's Carol.
Now
You asked him to stay.
Not that I think that that's required and that you
Well,
should
we
have.
had done a
It's
roll
just
call vote.
supposed to be
We
done.
did
so-
earlier.
We did
Yeah,
on
it's
all
supposed
of
to,
our
so
ones,
just
yes.
reminded. And, with the, when you were setting the tax rate, I agree with everything that you did, and just to give you a little bit of comfort feeling about getting down to that 5.2% of the thing. Hopefully this year is like every year with Bristol, that you've underestimated the revenues and overestimated the budget quite a little bit. We traditionally are about $100,000, to the good at the end of the year. So that goes into the general fund too. So I think you did well.
I increased the revenues.
Hmm?
I increased the revenues to be a little bit more realistic, so I don't know if there will be a lot extra.
But it's still.
Well, let's let him have that.
Yeah,
one.
well,
Even with all the different estimates, my experience, it's always been around
Yeah,
100,000 plus or minus 20.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks, Don.
sure.
Mr. Fellows?
Yeah, Rockefeller's Beach Street. I came in here last spring and complained about ice on Beach Street going across the street. Well, I'm back here again, winter's here. We're soon gonna see that ice again. Nothing has been done. I know because I live there, just beyond it. They gotta find a solution to that because you can't use the sidewalk at all at that point. And Mark will vouch for that. He's been up there and put enough salt on that to clear up 15 roads to take care of a little bit of ice on the sidewalk. Well, not a little, it was about that thick last year.
I did, Mark, when he presented the budget to you, did explain that the drainage money that he put in was for Beach Street, but we didn't have enough to do it this year. So I think that was one of the things he mentioned.
Yeah, so I think
I
that
was trying
comes
to-
on next year's list.
So that's in the,
We put it in the budget and the drainage projects,
For 2020.
for 2024, so we would be, his plan is to do something with
my
that.
wife being handicapped, I kind of press that issue a little bit more than somebody else might.
Right.
No, it's good to stay on top of it too.
I was gonna log in, he just kicked me out.
Any other public comments? Tom?
Tom Caldwell, Bristol. I just wanted to kind of support what John was saying too about making the zoning a little more consistent and logical. I think I brought it before about, there are homeless people. We don't have as many as a lot of places, but having accessory dwellings that people can be in, and having it attached, I don't think makes sense. I think that, as long as it's on the same property, that makes sense. I do think if RV is used as a residential, it's gonna be taxed as a residential, so it's gonna be taxed a lot more, like a regular dwelling would be. No? I'm not on this? Okay.
That's a good thought.
But in any case, I think it's a
Yeah.
good time to look at some of these problems with the zoning. And I think a lot of things get passed because, as you said, there can be 22 zoning amendments on the ballot. And I remember in the old days, there used to be a booklet that would explain what all of these are, because a one sentence explanation.
There is, at town
Okay.
meeting, the papers are put out, and I'm wondering if they might be, but usually there
I
are
have not
papers.
seen, I have not noticed them in recent years, so.
Yeah, we've been doing them for
Okay.
a few years. They're working on one right now, and we'll have it posted, but usually they put the paper copies out. So it'll say article such and such, this is what it is, and this is why we're doing it, so.
And some people will take the time to be informed on those, and some will get there and say, oh, I forgot about the zoning
Yeah.
ordinances, I'm gonna just vote yes, or I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
I
vote
think,
no.
I think that's what
Yeah,
happens with a lot of people, even if they do have the time, they
Yeah,
don't bother,
they
they
just-
just go down through.
Well, they
and say,
read it
okay,
for
it's recommended, let's do it,
Yeah,
without really being aware of
understanding.
what's being proposed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
And just to follow up for Mr. Fellows, we did double the drainage projects proposed to fix Beach Street failing pipes and water issues. So we doubled it from, as long as it makes it through budget. It was $5,000 this year, and we put it up to $10,500 to do that next year. So.
Okay. Thank you.
As long as the
Can he
budget
start in
committee-
January?
Yeah, I know.
So keep an eye out for the budget. When the proposed budget comes, you can be prepared to amend
Support it, yeah.
Any other
if
public
they
comments?
cut it.
Or
So,
private? Carol?
Just to add to that, so Mark is aware that extra attention needs to be given to that on Beach Street, I'm sure then, right?
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
sure, we'll make sure.
It won't be, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank
I'm
you.
sure he's well aware of it.
Any other comments? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn,
So-
or Carol, you're gonna have to say yes to adjournment. We're gonna have to take a roll call.
So moved.
Rob moved to adjourn.
second.
Scott seconded. Carol, are you in favor? At
Aye,
8:30?
yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.